Happy Friday, North Texas. I'm Scott.
And I'm Alicia.
Today is Friday, February 28th. What topics are we covering today, Alicia?
First up, we're celebrating 10 years of service for the UNT Food Pantry presented by Kroger by talking about all the ways it supports our students and how the UNT community can help. Then we have an interview with women's basketball star Tommisha Lampkin reflecting on her 5 years at UNT. Finally, we've got a great interview with UNT Police Assistant Chief Jeremy Polk talking about his recent training at the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia, and how that will help him keep our community safer.
That sounds great, Alicia, but first, we've got to catch up. Alicia, we had a nasty cold snap last week. Not much in the way of snow or ice, luckily, but man, was it cold.
It was freezing, Scoodle. Thankfully, I didn't need to leave the house much, so I just stayed bundled up all nice and toasty in my apartment. You and the fam get through it all right?
Yep, the kiddos and the wife were good, and the pipes all came through it unscathed, so we are very grateful for that.
Glad to hear it. Speaking of gratitude, I know thousands of UNT students have been grateful for the UNT Food Pantry over the last 10 years.
For sure. In her role as the Associate Director of the Diamond Eagle Resource Center, Tristan Wheeler oversees the UNT Food Pantry presented by Kroger. I spoke to her about the great work the Food Pantry does and how the wider UNT community can help support those efforts. So, for any listeners who might not be aware that UNT even has a food pantry, can you just tell me a little bit about what the food pantry is and its mission?
Yeah, so the UNT Food Pantry is a food pantry located on campus available for any enrolled student. Students are able to come one time per week and get groceries as needed. So we have all sorts of items like canned goods, microwavable meals. We have like fresh produce, breakfast food, snacks, anything that somebody might need. And our mission is to kind of combat food insecurity or other sort of food struggles that students might have while they're on UNT's campus.
Nice. And what is your role with the food pantry?
Yeah, so I'm the Associate Director of the Diamond Eagle Student Resource Center, and the food pantry is one of our programs. So I directly oversee the operations side of the pantry.
Okay, very nice. Can you tell me a little bit about, I know a few years back there was a partnership established with Kroger. Can you talk about that partnership with Kroger at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Kroger has a zero waste, zero hunger grant program that we applied for about 5 years ago now, that we received. And it's $250,000 that we got over the course of the 5 years. And it primarily funds our student employees who run the pantry, as well as all of our pantry staple items. So we're able to use this grant to get to just keep the bare minimum on our shelves every week.
Great. And then for any students who are listening and weren't aware, do they have to make contact ahead of time or make any kind of appointment, or can they just show up?
Nope, they just show up. We're located on the backside of Crumley Hall, so we have our own entrance at the back of the building, and they just come in. We do have a registration form for first-time users, but we don't turn anybody away as long as they're an active student. They do have to bring their UNT ID just so we can validate that they're a student, but then they just go in. It's no questions asked.
And then tell me about, so established in 2015, so the food pantry celebrating 10 years this year. Is there any kind of event or anything planned around that?
So we're trying to celebrate throughout the year. We don't have one specific event. So we are having a t-shirt and tote bag sale that has we have a little 10th anniversary logo on it. So people can buy it, and part of the proceeds will go toward operations of the food pantry. And then we're also trying to ask for donations to celebrate our 10-year anniversary. We're going to be having some social media content about different statistics of the past 10 years and the students that we've served and how much food that we've served to students. And yeah.
Nice. Do you have any stats on service over there? How many students have visited the food pantry or anything like that?
Yeah, I do. pulled them up for you.
Nice.
So just for last year, last year's numbers, we had 20,000 visits to the food pantry. And of those 20,000, we had a total of 4,500 students, like individual students who use the pantry. So some of those are them coming back multiple weeks in a row. And since this pantry has opened in 2015, we've served 28,000 individual students over those 10 years.
Nice. And you mentioned having like fresh produce on hand. The kind of typical thing that comes to mind with college students is like eating ramen or kind of eating junk food. How much do y'all do in terms of like trying to help and encourage like good, proper nutrition with the food you provide?
Yeah, so we try to select things that are more nutritious options. So we have the fresh produce, and then we also have like canned vegetables and canned fruit and like canned protein options that are maybe more accessible for students if they aren't comfortable cooking fresh produce. And then we also have like easy meals like the ramen or like mac and cheese. But we also provide pasta and rice. So we try to have a variety that kind of suits everybody's needs, because we know some people don't have the time to cook like fresh pasta or rice and do just need that ramen or, the microwave mac and cheese. But then like our snacks, we try to pick healthy snacks as well. So popcorn is one that, instead of chips, for example, we try to have like peanut butter or like granola bars that are more healthy and less sugary. I get requests for things like Pop-Tarts, and I'm like, well, we have oatmeal and we have granola bars. So we try to pick things. And then we also provide like different recipes that students can utilize from things they get in the pantry, so that they're making things that last longer and can satiate them for longer as well.
And then it's not just food, right? Y'all also collect like toiletry type, like toothbrushes and toothpaste and shampoo and conditioner and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so we do collect donations for any sort of toiletry items. Like you mentioned, the shampoo, body wash, deodorant, toothpaste. And then we also provide menstrual products. So we have pads and tampons that we stock regularly as well.
Nice. So if people want to support the food pantry, whether it's students, faculty, staff, alumni, or just UNT community members, what are some of the ways they can do that?
So one of the ways is to volunteer your time. So donating your time is precious to us. We couldn't run without our volunteers. So for students, they could actually schedule an orientation through the Navigate app, and then they come in for orientation, and then they kind of set their own schedule for what hours they want to volunteer. And that would be things like restocking and interacting with our patrons in the pantry. And then for faculty and staff or other community members that wouldn't have access to Navigate, they can just email us and we'll set up that orientation with them that way. Another way is to donate. So we take physical donations 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, of any like non-perishable food items. We just ask that they're not expired food items. And then you can also donate monetarily through like the UNT giving website. And you can just say that your donation is for the UNT Food Pantry.
Nice. Those are all of the questions I had written down. Is there anything we didn't cover or anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah, I'll just mention a couple of our other partnerships that we have. So we also partner with the Tarrant Area Food Bank, and they provide us primarily with that fresh produce that I mentioned, which is really vital because they're able to donate that to us for free, and we're able to give out, hundreds of pounds of produce a week from that. And then we also have a campus monthly sponsorship program where different departments across campus will host a donation drive for a specific month and, recruit their staff and their faculty to donate to us. And so just a shout out to all of our campus monthly sponsors as well. And if anyone's interested, they can also reach out to us via email.
That's great. And we'll be sure to include a link to the Food Pantry website in the show notes for anybody who wants to go visit that. Tristan, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you as well. I actually thought of one more thing to add, if you don't mind.
Go ahead. Yeah, no problem.
So another service that we're able to offer is we host what we call monthly mobile food pantries. And that's also through a partnership with Tarrant Area Food Bank. And it's for all community members, so not just students. It could be anybody in the community. And we host those in Lot 20 out past the Coliseum. And we give out like 3 weeks worth of groceries sometimes at those events. We just kind of lay everything out on the table and people are able to come by and grab what they need. So that's just another resource that we provide that's been really helpful to the community members and our students.
I absolutely love that we have that resource for students who need it. Be sure to check out the show notes for a link to learn more about the food pantry.
And fun fact, happy Friday, North Texas super fans might remember Tristan being on the pod last year when you interviewed her and some students about the bee boxes on campus.
Yeah, big thanks to Tristan for coming back on the pod and all the work she does to serve the UNT community. In addition to celebrating the food pantry, the women's basketball team has been giving fans a lot to celebrate this season, especially at home.
That's right. The women are 14-1 at home this season, and they'll hope Mean Green fans can recreate that home court advantage when the American Athletic Conference Championships take place in Fort Worth March 8th through 12th. I spoke to fifth-year senior Tommisha Lampkin about what the program means to her and the legacy she hopes to leave at UNT. First question I wanted to ask, you're in your fifth year with the Mean Green now. Just tell me kind of what the program means to you and what it means to you to be a leader on this team.
This program means a lot to me. Obviously, I've been here for 5 years, and this is just a program who just took me in with open arms. As an 18-year-old freshman, like I didn't really know much about college. I just knew I was getting a full-ride scholarship to play basketball, and this was going to be like my way out, basically, and the new life I provided for my child. So us coming here 5 years ago and just finding a family in UNT will always mean a lot to me.
Very nice. I saw you're on track to finish near the top of several program records this year. Tell me what it means to you to leave that kind of lasting legacy with the program.
That was really like my main goal in staying another year, is the legacy that I would leave behind. Like, and having such a good year last year, I knew that there was more work that could be done as far as my legacy, not just like us winning, but like for me personally. So I always wanted to leave a legacy wherever. Like I went in high school, I left a legacy there and being the top in like a lot of categories there. So I didn't want to shy away from that in college.
Very nice. The team has been pretty dominant at home this season. What do you attribute that to, that success at home?
There's definitely, I wouldn't even say home court advantage. It's just us not wanting to let down our fans, trying to build our fan base, and the only way to do it win it in front of them. It's just trying to grow our fan base and knowing like what we're trying to accomplish at the end of the season, and we can take care of that the best at home.
What is your favorite UNT memory so far, whether it's on the court or in the classroom or just on campus? What's your favorite UNT memory so far?
Definitely last year winning the championship. That will always be like really cool to me because I know it's a core memory for my son too. Like us talking about it, he still likes to talk about the confetti, and I just know like he was really excited last year when it happened. So that's by far my favorite.
That's great. If you don't mind me asking, how old is your son?
He's 6.
6. Okay. So this is your 50. So was he like 1 or 2 when you came to UNT?
Yeah, he was 2. He had just turned 2.
How did coming to college is a big decision for any student. I'm sure it's also an even bigger decision for a student athlete looking for the right program fit. How did, being a mother and thinking about where you're going to take your son impact your decision to come to UNT?
Well, I had like 10 D1 offers, and before I had Kason, like I used to always tell my mom that I wanted to like go as far as possible because I've been here my whole life, but the maturity set in once I had him. Like, okay, like it probably wouldn't be smart to take a 2-year-old as far as I can.
Yeah.
So I need to stay close to home for him, and I also this was one of the only schools like that was close for me in my decision making, and they were the first school that offered me too. So it was just like always kind of felt like home because I had been talking to them the longest. Like, they knew my situation with Kaysen and all of that. And they were one of the schools that still stuck around because after I had Kaysen, a lot of schools like dropped off and declined their offers eventually. And so for them to still like stick around with me, knowing my situation and like seeing the vision in me or seeing like a promising future in me is what made me come here.
Very nice. You mentioned, having to mature a little bit and making that decision. Do you feel like being a mother has kind of influenced your leadership ability on the team at all, like having had to mature a little bit faster than your average college student?
Yeah, definitely. I was always like more mature for my age, anyways. But having a kid, like now I have someone else to look after, and it makes it no different now than my teammates because like I'm one of the oldest ones on the team. So I tell them all the time, like I'm not about to be treating y'all like my kids. I only have one kid, but at the end of the day, like that's what helps me lead them the most is me being a mother. And like, so if I do have to treat them like my kids, I can because I already know how this go and they respect me for it.
Yeah. And you mentioned the celebration with Kaysen and him remembering the confetti. Are there any other lessons or memories do you hope your son remembers or takes away from your time at UNT?
Well, I'm kind of like this being my last year is kind of getting me emotional. Like when I bring him to practice and stuff, because like he's grew up here.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a lot that he will remember. Some probably that I won't even remember. But him just seeing like my hard work and dedication over this 5 years, I hope like some of that rubs off on him. And he wants to go after his dreams, whatever they may be, but he wants to pursue them to the fullest and never quit on them because he's seen me in some of my darkest times here, and now he's seeing the light, and I can tell how like it's changing for the both of us.
That's great. You talked about UNT, supporting you after you had Kaysen and still giving you that offer and being able to bring him to practice. Has there been any particular like way the team or the school has supported you that has helped? College on its own is hard enough. I can't imagine doing it as a mother. Have there been any specific resources or help that have made this easier for you?
I mean, just all the different teams I've had as a whole in 5 years. There was never a problem with me bringing Kaysen to practice. Like some of my teammates have watched Kaysen alone, and that just shows like the type of family and trust I have in these people to allow my child to be with them outside of like basketball or even without me.
Okay, very nice. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today, Tommisha. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Dude, I love hearing about all the success Tommisha has had here, all while raising a kid the entire time. Moms truly can do it all, y'all.
For real, Tommisha has a super inspiring story. Be sure to check the show notes for a link to a story about an award-winning student documentary about Tommisha and to get tickets to the conference championships in Fort Worth, where you can see the women's tournament March 8th through 12th and the men's tournament March 12th through 16th.
Up next, we've got an interview with UNT Police Assistant Chief Jeremy Polk. Our very own Melissa Brown interviewed Assistant Chief Polk about his recent trip to Quantico, Virginia for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He went through training at the FBI Academy that was so exclusive, he was one of only 6 university police officers in the entire country to get to do it.
Man, think about how different the world was 7 years ago. That's what we call the before times.
And I was in high school, Scott. Even though a lot had changed since he applied, Assistant Chief Polk explains why he couldn't pass up this amazing opportunity.
What do you think the biggest benefit to the department here is from having people participate in the academy and graduate from it?
It's probably two things. One being connections and relationships, which isn't obvious, and two, probably resource awareness. But some of the best part was almost all of our classes had either speakers come in or someone came in to just tell us about resources they had available to us that were free, they're out there, they're begging to be used, and we just don't know about them, whether that's technology, help with technology, because that's a huge area right now is, phones, evidence that's based in phones and in the cloud and cyberspace and cellular technology. That kind of stuff is foreign almost to all of us, just because it's highly technical and we just don't deal with it a lot. But there are organizations that support the government that provide us with all of that help and assistance. I mean, and they're out there and they're free and they're like, here, contact us, please. That's a big thing, because whether it's other federal agencies like the DEA, the ATF, even the FBI, just defining what their roles are and what they can do to help us, it's all these, what they call NGOs, these non-government organizations, these NGOs that exist too, that support governmental functions. They're just there to help us too, and we just don't know about it. So technology was a big one that I learned about it. I have it on the list to actually go back and show the investigators some of that stuff, and maybe get them in that database so they have some more resources to use technology-related stuff, which is pretty interesting.
So I know that there was the physical aspect of it and classroom. Can you kind of talk a little bit about the setup of the overall academy?
Yeah, so it's almost like moving away to college for 11 weeks, because you just take a limited amount of stuff. It's a little bit of clothing, just what you basically need to live, right?
Right.
Things you'd take to a hotel for a night, and then you move into a dorm room with a brand new roommate that you have been assigned, and you share a bathroom with two other people that are your suite mates. It's literally like living in Kerr Hall. It's literally like being in Kerr Hall with your furniture, and then the first day you go down and you buy all your uniforms, and it's weird. It's like being in Catholic school. You go and you buy all your uniforms, and you can't be in the hallway between 7 and 5 and not be in uniform. You can hang out in your dorm, but you have to follow the structure and the rules and the schedule. Mm-hmm. But the day-to-day, it is like being in school. You get up and you have breakfast. I actually had physical training. I signed up, luckily, for the early block, so most of mine were first thing in the morning, luckily, because I didn't want to do afternoon ones. First thing in the morning, you usually had PT, physical training, and then once you showered and changed, you had classes all day. So usually it was most of the time 8 to 5 classroom with PT thrown in 3 to 4 times a week. And then in the evenings, you probably had half your evenings were free. Half of them were scheduled for you, where we had national level speakers come in and everybody gathered in the auditorium to hear one person speak. The rest of the stuff was all broken up into classes. Everybody had different experiences. Everybody had different instructors. Everybody chose different classes.
How do you think you can apply some of what you learned to the overall safety for the campus?
Everything that they're giving you and everything that they're showing you, teaching you, talking to you about, either leadership-wise or resource availability or even just some skill-based stuff, it's really for you, me, to come back here and create an umbrella of that for everyone else that works here. So, I think it's meant to be a trickle-down effect all the way down to a street-level officer, although it's not a direct path. It's not like I will come back and teach an FBI class to
I will now show you.
Let's discuss national security and counterterrorism. It's not a street-level officer's job, But I think where it comes to play is when we have a situation or, individual cases that are unique or novel or whatever, I have a resource list that no one else has. Whether that's calling someone in another city, calling someone in another state, and all the way to calling someone in another country now, to say, and we've had that. We've had transnational cases even here, where we've had to reach out across borders to say, I need this done. Who do I talk to? Well, I have a list now of people that I can just call and say, hey, I'm an NA grad. I know you're an NA grad. Can you help me with this? And that's what this whole thing is meant to be. And they told us that. They told us that many times. It's like, this is all about relationship building. This is all about us fighting crime and safety problems and all the other things that threaten our communities. The cafeteria is where most of the conversations happen. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm sitting with all these people around me, and every meal, somebody brought up a question of, how do y'all do this? How do y'all do that? What's your biggest problem? How did you solve this? And just sitting there and you listen and you share and they share, And that really does problem solve too. Now, again, you're not talking about the most minute of problems, but what you realize is everybody's got similar problems, and they're all handling them differently. And you get some ideas. You get ideas from them. They probably stole some from us. All that kind of stuff. And some of those things you can put in, application. You can come in and just immediately say, hey, I heard of this program they're doing to prevent bike theft at this other school. Hey, reach out to them, talk to them, and see if it's something we can implement here.
What was the most difficult thing, do you think?
Ooh. The academic stuff was not bad to me because I've done graduate work. I've had education, a lot of it. So writing papers, presentations, natural to me. The physical stuff was harder than I expected it to be because I thought that I've been through a lot of programs, even Texas, we have a program called Lehman. 2 or 3, I think Chief and I've done Lehman. It's Texas's version of the FBI National Academy, but not to that scale. And we talk about physical stuff and did some health training and stuff in that. So I'm thinking, hey, here we are. We're going to go to this FBI National Academy. Most of us are in our 40s and 50s. They're not going to kill us, because they can't kill us and send us back to our agency all busted up and stuff. But they did not care that we're in our 40s and 50s. There was no care in the world that we were in our 40s and 50s. I mean, and we got in there on the first day, and of course I had the head fitness instructor. He's been there 19 years. He's an absolute machine. And he's just, he just goes to town on us. And he just tells us every day, this is what I'm going to do. This is why we're doing it. Everything he said made perfect sense. Stuff we should do. But it was intense. And you had to put forth effort. You could have hidden in the back and maybe gotten away with a little bit. But, man, I wanted to be in it. If I'm going to be there, let's do it. And that was tough because, you had to qualify on a mile run week 1. You had to qualify again in week 8 with a faster time than you ran in week 1. If you didn't do all those qualifying, you didn't get to run the final obstacle. Which was a 6.2 mile run. It was a 3 mile obstacle course through the Marine Corps base woods, and then a 5K after that. Half of which I think was uphill. And it was 40 degrees and raining. So, if there could have been another challenge, you could have added another challenge other than maybe snow, on top of that final thing. So that all together, I think the physical aspect of it was more than I expected they were going to do.
So that was like, an obstacle type course?
Yeah, it was literally through the woods of Quantico Marine Base. It's a Marine obstacle course and running trail through the woods. Kind of as one you might picture the military doing, up and over barriers, rope climbs, you had to go up and down the cliff face where they just had ropes strung off the side. And we all got
rappelling.
We all got the first one, and you're like, hey, we didn't train for this. And you had to climb up that thing, and not to mention it's 40 degrees and raining and it's muddy. And we're all roping ourselves up and down again and up and down again, and you're just like, oh my God, it was wild. People were gathering halfway through and going, hey, this is no joke. So yeah, it took about an hour and a half to do it all, but that's what this was.
That's awesome.
You ran the yellow brick road, you got the brick. That's the big thing that they push you through the whole way. All the physical training is geared towards that. And just self-improvement, obviously, and to give you strategies for everybody. Here's the best part. The fitness instructor, he was great. He had me on the first day because he was a really great motivator, really great. Just, man, he did get you wanting to do stuff, wanting to be healthier, wanting to do stuff. Because you see him and he's my age, about to turn probably 50, and is just an absolute machine, Doesn't look, not huge muscles, looks like anyone else around here, but just in shape, And he told us on the first day, because he knows his audience, he knows we're in our 40s and 50s. He said, if you want to thrive at 75, you can't be average at 50. And so he did all the stuff for us. He said, I want you to collect those retirement checks as long as you can, because cops retire and they're dead within 2 or 3 years. That is the national average, and that's in your early 50s.
Yeah.
So everything was based towards flexibility, strength, staying mobile, all that kind of stuff. It was not cardio and running. That happened to be a long run, but all the exercise and physical training was not about cardio.
Yeah,
it's about strength.
That's what I hear.
Flexibility, strength, and stretching, and just staying mobile.
What's one golden nugget of goodness you brought back with you?
Oh, one thing that I came away from it with, that I didn't expect to come away from it with, is when I left, I had a really, really renewed sense of patriotism and for service. That's not what I expected to get, because you expect to get classroom material, learn some academic nuggets, this and that. But with, being at the FBI's academy, that's just something mysterious about that in the first place, and being deep into this Marine base, that you're part of this that no one else is going to get to see. You probably never get to come back. But everything, it's flags everywhere. It's the Star Spangled Banner everywhere. You're surrounded by the military base, which is all about service. Flags, patriotism, country, United States. You sort of, even if you're kind of a patriotic person, and that starts to wane over the years as just the daily grind drags you along, and you kind of forget all that stuff that, man, we live in a great place. We have great opportunities, and we got into this job and these kinds of things, whether it's military, police, whatever. You get into a service organization, you tend to forget over time the service aspect of it, and after just all the tours too of all the historical stuff, and like seeing 10% of what I really wanted to go see, didn't have time for anymore. Walking through the Capitol and just like place I've never been. Man, I walked away from that just thinking, man, I'm proud to be a United States citizen. I'm proud to be a police officer. I'm proud to have been a part of this program. And I went into it after 7 years of waiting, not as excited as I was when I applied 7 years earlier, because I was 7 years older. I was like, I want to go away from home for 11 weeks. Oh my God, that's a strain on everybody. I'm in a way different job than I was 7 years ago. And then when the 11 weeks was over, it was like, I'm glad I didn't give that away.
Right.
I walked away with that, and I didn't expect to walk away with that. So that's not a nugget, but
I think that applies, right, though, to a renewed sense of service for, how we operate on campus too.
Yeah. And it's not that we're just this little small thing that's not significant. It's very significant. What we do here is very important.
Yes.
It's very important to the students, the community here at UNT. It's very important to the city of Denton. It's very important to the state of Texas.
Yeah.
And we even have roles that go beyond that. And it's, other things. We play a role in counterterrorism.
Yep.
We run across something that we think is suspicious, we're the first line that's going to report that.
That's right.
And someone else is going to have to pick up that ball and run with it, and we work together. So, I mean, could we work a bike theft case? That's probably going to happen tomorrow. But in the spring, might we have a human trafficking case?
Sure.
We might.
Yeah.
Will we have a counterterrorism tie-in? We might.
I mean, there's all kinds of stuff
Yep.
that I'm sure you're not so missed.
Yeah, and that's and this the whole thing hugely reminds you of that. You don't look at just the minutia of what you do day to day. It's that there is a larger picture here, and you play a role in it. And then I come back here, and under the umbrella, all these people play a role in it, and I help monitor that.
Wow, that sounds like it was an incredible experience for Assistant Chief Polk. I loved hearing how it renewed his sense of patriotism and how the training and networking will help him keep our UNT community safe.
For sure. Big thanks to Melissa for bringing us that interview. Be sure to check out the show notes for the link to her full story. And now it's Q&A time, Scotty. What are we talking about today?
Well, since we featured the food pantry at the top of the show, we wanted to highlight some other resources UNT offers. So our question today is, what was or is your favorite UNT program or resource?
Well, My favorite UNT resource when I was a student was the math lab at Sage Hall. I always struggled with math, and that struggle followed me into college, so I thought I'd take advantage of what was offered to me instead of constantly feeling helpless. After the first few visits, I felt like I understood the problems I had struggled with so much more than when I first entered. All in all, I think I'm a better person now because of them. Kidding, but I'm definitely better at word problems and some fast math. What about you, Scoodle?
So, if we're talking about when I was a student, I'd have to say the study abroad program because my trip to Germany had such a big impact on me. But if I can pick one that I've learned about since I started working here, Student Legal Services is a pretty valuable resource UNT offers. They can provide students with general legal advice, help draft legal documents, and attempt to help resolve legal problems. It's one of those resources you may never need, but if you ever do need it, it could be extremely clutch.
For sure.
Our student reporter, Anthony Simone, asked students about some of their favorite UNT resources.
What are some student resources that you've used that you would like to share with other students?
I think a good resource is the counseling and testing services. They offer a lot more than just like therapy, but they offer a lot of like group therapy and art therapy and music therapy and resources for especially college students who are struggling, and most of it is free and it's really helpful.
Oh, I just came from the library. I love that they have computers available for us to use. I don't have one at home. I don't even have Wi-Fi, so it's huge having resources like that, for sure.
I've used the math lab. It was very helpful, like getting through certain problems that I didn't understand.
The Office of Disabilities, they're helpful with the teachers offering extra time on assignments and tests and different kind of things and accommodations.
Definitely the Willis Library media store. I rent movies from there like 3 or 4 times a week. In fact, I just did it earlier today before coming here to the Union. Yeah, for one thing, it's so nostalgic, and me being a movie lover, I'm amazed by their massive collection, and it's allowed me to watch so many new movies, and it's free for students, of course, so definitely check it out when you have the time. You will absolutely love it, and you'll definitely go back to it.
Well, now that you've heard some of our favorite resources, we want to hear from you. Tell us about a UNT resource that helped you succeed by emailing us at podcast@unt.edu or calling us at 940-565-4341.
Don't forget to tell a friend about the show, share it on social media, or leave us a rating and review wherever you listen. Until next time, we hope you have a happy Friday, North Texas.
And go Mean Green!
Happy Friday, North Texas is a production of the University of North Texas. Today's show was produced and edited by Scott Brown with original reporting by Scott Brown, Melissa Brown, and Anthony Simone. For more information, visit unt.edu/podcast.
Well, first up, we're celebrating 10 years of service for the UNT Food Pantry. I see what you mean. Finally, we've got a great interview with UNT Police. Words. Speaking of gratitude, I know thousands of UNT students. What is with me? Oh my gosh. Oh God, I'm gonna do that again. Yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, I definitely probably butchered that. Okay, sorry. I promise I won't mess this up.
It's one of those resources that you may never need, but if I didn't promise I wouldn't mess it up.
Do you want me to record like 3 different for sure's so you can add in?
No.
For sure.
You ready?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't know
Okay.
what we're... Oh, you're waiting for me. I'm such a dunce. Boop, boop.
All right, we did it.
Boop, boop, boop. You don't need anything else for me recorded after today's freaking debacle?
Nah, dog, you're good.
Okay, good. Thank you. But I don't have anything else.
And we're sitting pretty.
I love sitting pretty. It's the only way I like to sit.